probably not very many of you, because when most people look at me, they're like, you can't do anything. But I am a deacon, and I'm going to discuss that more in just a sec. But I'm also going to discuss how our church here, Morgan Bible Church, is actually lacking a board of deacons, and the effects that this has on the ministry that we could be doing. And I'm also going to discuss how with a board of deacons, our church could be a much more effective ministerial body within the Morgan Hill community. Before we can discuss what a board of deacons is and how it can better our impact in the community, we need to discuss what a deacon is so that you have a better understanding of it. So deacon is actually a word derived from the Greek word diakonos, which technically means servant, and the verb form means serving. Diakoneo means serving. Diakonos is used 30 times in the New Testament. 5 times it is translated as deacon, and the 25 times is either translated as serving, servant, or slave. The first board of deacons is believed to have occurred in Acts chapter 6 because of complaints that were raising from the Hellenistic Jews about their widows not being taken care of as well as they could be. Throughout the New Testament, there are several places where it gives requirements for a deacon, and those requirements are right here. And it's, if he is married, he has to be monogamous, and if he's not married, he has to be celibate. He has to be just. If he has a household that he runs, he has to run it justly. He has to be fair, and he has to judge correctly. If he cannot be a new believer, generally scholars and pastors believe that the period from salvation to a year after salvation is generally considered a new believer. And then they have to have a good reputation. It has to be consistently good in and out of the church. If they don't have a good reputation out of the church, then their reputation within the church is probably a hypocritical reputation. And so they have to have a consistently good reputation in and out of the church. The first board of deacons, as I said, is believed to be in Acts chapter 6. And from then on, most churches, after they reach a certain size, have had some sort of board of deacons or other form of government like that, apart from the elders. These requirements you can find, as I said, in 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1. So now that you know the qualifications, what has a deacon traditionally done? A deacon traditionally is a member of the church that goes to visit sick people in the hospital, or just sick people at home, prepare meals, deliver food, do child care. Mrs. Warner is a deacon as she provides child care every Tuesday morning for the women's Bible study. So now that you know this sort of basic, there's a duality in all service that a deacon does. In a recent interview that I had with David Dewar, he says, whereas the bishop, elders, and overseers are arguably a position of spiritual leadership within local churches, I think that you have to argue that a position of deacons is primarily one of spiritual leadership as well. The only difference is one of emphasis. The elder or overseer focusing on the spirit and the spiritual, disciplining and teaching. The deacon focusing on the spirit by focusing on the body before the spirit. In James, he says roughly the same thing. He says, if a brother or sister comes to you in need of daily food or clothing, and you say, go be warm and be filled, and you do not give them what is necessary for their body, what use is that? What good is that? And so he recognizes the fact that there is a need for the care of the physical as well as the spiritual.